I feel like it's in my mouth.
That would be better for the picture.
How about that?
All right. All right, if you can hear me and it's not in my mouth, then it's just fine. The new life that we just heard is so extraordinary that it's really true, where Baba said, even if there was no one to live it, it would still continue and carry on. And it's easy to see why no one could live it. Those that went with Baba to live the new life did so with him, and that made it possible. And they said so when I was with Erich and with other members of the Mandali that went with Baba in those days. It was extremely difficult, and so when they said how they were able to do it, and they said it was because it was Baba's love, and just made it possible. Whether a person could do this without Baba's physical presence there to encourage them, not just to encourage them, but to make it possible. Baba was silent, he didn't speak, so it wasn't like he was talking to them and encouraging them. But his actions and his communication through the alphabet board in those days was quite sufficient. Now, when I was with Baba, one of the things that I noticed right at the start was that Baba wasn't speaking. But it didn't take long before I forgot that he wasn't speaking. And because he was communicating so easily and so naturally through his hand signs and hand gestures that Erich would read, and it didn't seem like Baba was silent at all. When he would tell us about the breaking of the silence, and he did want people to believe that he would break his silence. So you say, well, what does that mean, the breaking of his silence? Baba had said so many things about what the silence was and what would happen when he broke his silence and how everybody would know that his silence was broken. He was very clear about a lot of things, but he said so many things. One of the things he said, when the word of my love breaks out of its silence to speak in your hearts, telling you who I really am, then you will know that is the word you have always been longing to hear. Well, this has a lot of depth. It doesn't mean he's going to start to give a talk, or he was going to give some sort of a lecture as to how people should behave or what they should do or who he was. And no, it was none of those things. It was where he wanted you, he was, like it said, when the word of my love breaks out of its silence to speak in your hearts, then you will know that's the word you have always been longing to hear. And that love is everything. That's everything that a person could possibly want. We don't even understand the full dimension and breadth and width of what divine love is, because it's so unconditional and it doesn't have any limits. We live, all of us are living in a world of limitations. We're so limited that you have to wish for things, hoping that something will happen, that you're unable to somehow make it occur. But in the world of the limitlessness, which is where Baba wants us to go, there is no such thing as being limited, or where there is a problem or there is difficulty. In fact, someone once said that it's all an enormous effort to reach a state of effortlessness. It's a big effort to reach the state of effortlessness. I always like the sound of that, you know. no problems, no difficulties, where in the state of consciousness that Baba enjoys, the infinite bliss. We talk and we use it sometimes so casually to say infinite bliss. If you really think about what that means, that bliss is the experience of selfhood. It is the unlimited self that you are. That is that bliss. We can't even imagine what that is because we don't experience that. We feel ourselves in everything. There's no one else for us to feel except ourselves in everything. But to actually experience it as bliss, and the kind of bliss that Baba is talking about, in that seventh plane of unlimited happiness, to us it becomes a goal, it becomes an ideal, it becomes something that we have to try and achieve. But in the way of the avatar, he wants it to be natural. He doesn't want us to do unnatural things to achieve it, because nothing is going to work anyhow, except that he removes the obstacles that prevent that consciousness from being experienced. It is the limitations. We're in, there was a good example of something like this here was the chicken and the egg. The chicken becomes a chicken in the egg. It wouldn't be for the eggshell, that chicken could never develop and grow into what it is. But once it does, it's not happy anymore to be in the very home and shell in which it was created. It now wants to break out so it can live its life and be free. And we are in that eggshell of the mind, the limited mind, the master creator of illusions. But that mind was extremely important to us, and because we had to evolve consciousness. You can't be self-conscious. You can't experience your true self without consciousness. You need consciousness. So the way that the masters have designed it is that this mentality, this mind, would be the shell in which consciousness could grow through the many experiences and illusions and imaginations that is in that mind. But once the consciousness is evolved, what's left for us? We want to get the hell out. We want to get out of it and experience the unlimited state, not to be in the shell, just like the chicken doesn't want to stay in the shell once it has developed itself. Once we develop consciousness, it's for us to get free, to be free from the limitations of that mental mind that we find ourselves absorbed in. So Baba comes along and explains this to us, because how would I know this, or anybody's going to know about all this if he didn't explain it? So he explains this, and then he wants us to just let him do it. Surrender to him. Just do whatever I say, he says. Just do whatever I say, and you will be able to attain this. Anything you do on your own is just more manipulations within the same framework of that mind, and you don't ever get out. But you have to get out, because that's your destiny. Your destiny is to be free. Well, now, having said all this, when I was with Baba, that's exactly what I wanted. And Baba was sitting there in his chair. I was sitting next to him on the carpet there, and there was maybe a couple of hundred people in the room. And I'm thinking to myself, here is the avatar, here is Meher Baba, who is in a state of infinite consciousness, and I am sitting next to him in a state of the most finite, limited consciousness. How is this possible that he could be sitting right here in infinite consciousness and I'm in finite consciousness, and we're both together in the same place? How? It seemed like this is absurd. How does such a thing happen like this? So Baba was not unaware of what my thoughts were, and at some point he wanted to have read the poem that Hafizs had written when he realized God. It's an amazing poem. I didn't bring it with me. I don't have it, but it would be. It's something where I'm sure everybody that searches for the beloved to know God as he really is would love to hear what he said and what happened and how it came about and how he became was given the ticket to the highest. This is the way he put it. He was given the ticket to the train to the highest. And he said, and I took the ticket. For 40 years he was serving his master Attar. 40 years, Attar seemed to have no particular mercy on him. I mean, he wasn't bad to him, but he wasn't all that great to him either. But to others that came for his blessings and for his darshan and whatever, he was all love. But to Hafizs, who would be there with him all the time, he just ignored him. And Hafizs wanted to know God. So 40 years he served him like that. And then one day was the day. You know, you never know when that day comes. But the one day was the day, and he said that his master, who was the incarnation of love itself, gave him the ticket to the highest. Like that. He was ready. How was he ready? Because the master said he was ready. How you get ready? You don't just get ready.
Pack bags.
Yeah, you don't just know about it. So when that time is, when you're ripe and ready and all of that, but in my view, when I was with Baba, I was thinking, what? Ready? No ready. How you get ready? It's not a question of being ready at all. It's a question of what Baba is capable of removing those impressions of mind that keep you bound. And he could do that at any moment. I mean, this is not something that's hard for him. We're not talking like an ordinary person has things that are hard for them to do. This is nothing for him. He is all-powerful, all-knowing. He knows his way around the block. He's been knocking around the universe that he created for ages. And so he knows every aspect of it. And we're just his own self in other forms seeking to know ourselves. I like to think of it as a drop that is like a bubble on the ocean. You know, you're made of nothing but ocean. The bubble is not made of anything else. We are like little bubbles of consciousness in the ocean of consciousness, which is what God is. He's everything, everywhere. He is the entire ocean of consciousness. And we're like the little bubbles in it. And what are we going to become? We can't go nowhere. You're in the ocean of consciousness. All you can do is one day, like a drop falls into the ocean, it becomes the whole ocean. It doesn't stay a drop anymore. You can't be a drop when you touch the ocean. You become the ocean. And that ocean of consciousness is what you become. So what do you become? You become what Baba is. And that's what Baba's been wanting all along, to make you one with him, so that you are what Baba is. You become what Baba is. He is your ideal in the world of imagination. Now he becomes he is the representation of what you're going to be. You will be everything that Baba is: infinite knowledge, infinite existence, infinite power, infinite love. You name it, anything and everything. That's what the ocean is. It's all things. And you will be the self in every self. You will be the one self that is the self of all selves. So if Baba is yourself, what can you become? You have to become the self that Baba is. You have to you become Baba. That's what you become. Baba is not someone else. He is, like he said, closer to you than your own breath. Well, what's closer to you than your own breath? Yourself. And he's been trying to bring this understanding home to us for a very long time. You know, you always hear, even whether it's in the Bible and the scriptures, God is one. Well, it's got to mean something. God is one. One what? One you. One all of we. One self in all. The one behind the many minds of so many beings. And it doesn't matter whether it's of the subhuman levels or the human stages or the more advanced yogis, masters. It doesn't matter who it is. It is the one self that plays the role of being the self of each and every one through the minds of each one. Oh yeah, you can break your brain on that one. So that's what I'm sitting next to Baba. He's the Godhood itself. And what am I seeing, for God's sakes? I'm seeing a person. I'm not seeing God, the Godhood of the infinite. I'm seeing a person. And I'm thinking to myself, how can I see what Baba is seeing? How does he see these? How does he see things? As I'm leaving with my brother Edward that day, we're going out. It was over for the day, and we're leaving, and Baba's seated still in his chair there, and Erich is in the room. Everyone else has left, and we're the last ones who are just leaving. So that's when Baba says like this, and I've said this before, I've told this story like that. One day I will give you the highest experience. This is what he said. One day I will give you the highest experience. I was thinking how to know what Baba is. You've got to have his consciousness. And that's what I wanted, you know. And he told us that, and he repeated that a couple of times. And then we left. So one day, you know, whatever day that is, it'll happen in this life, in another life. In this life, I don't know. There's not much life left. How much life is left for it to happen in this life? I don't want it to be when I'm just ready to drop dead. You know? All of a sudden, bingo, that's the moment. Well, I'm not going to say no.
I say, Judy, guess what?
Sai Baba actually realized God at a very young age. He was really more like a boy at the time when that happened for him. So then he had a long life where he lived and became the head of the 5 perfect masters. He was the Baba. When he spoke of Sai Baba, he said that Sai Baba was the personification of perfection. Yeah, the personification of perfection. Such a thing like that. Sai Baba also liked to perform, well, what people thought were miracles. If they had any worldly desires or needs or whatever, they would go to him, and he would arrange it where their the wishes were granted. He would grant their wishes. So he did that. But then once in a while, somebody would actually come for something real. They would come for God realization. And there's a story about that, which I'll tell you. This man, he came and he wanted God realization from Sai Baba. And Sai Baba doesn't often get somebody that actually wants to realize God. So Sai Baba is supposed to have said to him, all this time you've been wanting this, now you are coming here and you want me to give you God realization. He said, I am so happy, I am so impressed that you should come now to ask me for the real thing. And he went on about it like that for a while. And then he said, but you see, there's something else. He said, all this time, I've been giving you what you want. But now, finally, I'm going to tell you that it's time for you to give me what I want. You want God realization? Now you have to do whatever I ask you. Are you ready for this? Like that. So it's all part of our journey. We're all walking in the footsteps of those who have walked before us. This is nothing new. This has been going on like this for ages. This is the path, the routine. Love, obedience, and surrender. Oh boy, when I used to hear that, I said, it's something I want to stay away from. Because to me, it was too religious. It was like, who and what am I going to do? Somebody wants me to obey them like that. But with Baba, when he would say that, it had meaning. It really had a lot of meaning. It meant that, to me, he was in the experience of what I was seeking. So obviously, I had to do what he said if I wanted him to help me. And so it was natural. It was a natural thing to want to, that love, obedience, and surrender was a natural thing for me with Baba. But if it would be with anyone else, I wouldn't. I couldn't do that. I would never do that because the ego is too strong in people to do that. I have a poem here I wrote.
There's some water there. Why don't you take some water?
I always do what she says.
Wise man, you're a wise man. Happy life, happy
A man has to learn this. It took a long time, but she taught me good.
Happy wife, happy life.
That's right.
This is a poem called Mental Fire. And it speaks for itself, but it has a lot of depth in it, because that's the way my poems are. On earth, the king will have the changing of the guard. But in your realm, there are the kings of the changing of the mind. All the energies and activities of the world are decided by the kings of the mind. They will set the pattern down in the mental world. Then, like a train on the track, we cannot help but follow it wherever it goes. You set things up this way from the beginning out of love. Like the kind shepherd you are, you will protect your flock on its evolutionary journey from unconsciousness to consciousness, and from full consciousness to the self-realization of your own infinite being. Few know your work and the charges you have given to your kings of the mind. Fewer still know of the great love motivating what you do. Look at the children playing in the yard, so innocent and sweet, all of them. Poor or rich, fun is the same. Who knows who you will select to be one of your kings in the mental world, to wield the mental fire, a ruler of the mass movements of thoughts. O Lord of the great, maker of the kings of the realm, how can a lowly man like me ask to go beyond even these great ones, to know you as you really are?
Hey, Baba.
Thank you.
And that's what it is. This reminds me of how Baba would tell us that it didn't matter whether a soul was in the evolutionary stages of developing consciousness, or whether as a human being you were in any place in the universe or any where that it didn't matter whether you were fully conscious as a human. And it didn't matter even if you were on the planes of consciousness, like some of these great saints and others that are kings of the mind, as he mentioned. Because he said they were all as far from the infinite as, regardless of where on the what stage of the path that you were on. He said everyone is either in the state of finite consciousness or infinite, or would have to be in the infinite conscious state of God. And it didn't matter. You could be anywhere in the whole. If you were in the framework of the mind, you were as far from the infinite. It didn't matter whether you were a saint or a stone. You were just as far, because from finiteness to infinity is an infinite jump. And he said, now, because of that, I don't take you through these planes of consciousness, these planes of the where you have so much experience of, that they desire on the spiritual path. He said, because of that, I don't do this. What I do is I take you from where you are to where you should be. To go from finiteness to infinity, it don't matter where you are in the realm of the mind. He'll take you from where you are to where you should be. So he doesn't give all these other experiences because they're all just another form of illusion, however bright and happy they may turn out to be. So, okay. It made me think that I can be content now. I don't have to struggle to be somewhere in another state of awareness that I don't presently have, because what I'm after is the real thing. And for the real thing, that means that getting into the first plane, the second, third, and fourth, fifth, or whatever they are, is all irrelevant. Once you understand that, but you see, the world doesn't understand this. Even among spiritually people that are seeking spiritually, don't have necessarily that understanding. But Baba has brought that into the world consciousness now, and the world will come to know this here, just as we came to know it. Come to know it. Adam and the New World. One more poem. This one here is called Adam and the New World. Three-quarters of the world is water. Somewhere on this water world, dark-skinned, where was he born? How did he get there? Interesting questions. Before that, according to the story, God had his hands full making the world. Nothing is said about the sun and other planets, how all that got there. But anyhow, this story has served mankind for many ages and still serves many as the God-honest truth. Now, along comes the Avatar, God himself, to straighten things out. This is nothing new for him. He's been doing this every time he comes. First, an injection into the mass mind where everyone is connected. This mind is vast and full of change. What was only known to initiates of the masters, you are now distributing to everyone. Traditions, rituals, close-mindedness cannot live in your world of endless change. You are pumping new thoughts, fresh love into routine minds. Repetition of the same dogmas are withering for lack of nutrients. Instead, you are giving birth to a new world. You are the father and mother of life and love, taking us into new dimensions of understanding and experience in your vast creation of thoughts and feelings, matter and energy. You free the bound, great Lord of the free. You have come to take your children out of jail, even if we cannot see the bars containing us. You will make us see the unseen. Such is the new world you have arranged for us, great Lord of the heart. Not bad. I'm all for it. If anyone has any questions they'd like to ask, just feel free. You know, now that I'm here, I can answer a question or two, or three even.
Well, one, you said Sai Baba was the head of the
Five
spiritual
perfect
hierarchy,
masters, yeah.
But Baba Jan is also referred to as the emperor, and I thought,
Yeah. Baba had a name for each one of them.
oh,
And whenever, from what I was told, Baba Jan's name came up, Baba would just like express great bliss, because she's the one that gave him the enlightenment. She was the one that brought him into the consciousness of his selfhood, the reality of his infinite being. He just loved her so much. Okay, look at it this way. If somebody did that for you, I think you'd like them too.
I thought, I've always taken it to mean that she was the head of the five.
He would call her the emperor.
But are you
the
saying
emperor,
Sai Baba?
yeah. And Sai, yeah, now, let's see, there was, what's his name? Oh yeah, Upasni Maharaj now, Baba said that he was so great that if his grace were to fall upon even a stone, it would be transformed into God. So it just shows you, you know, that you don't have to really worry about being ready for it. Another time in this book, Listen Humanity, one of the things I really liked was when Baba said that even if the worst scoundrel were to stand before me and I had the wish, I could make him realize God in less time than the flash of a second. So I thought, okay, I don't have to think about how long I have to be there. It's like winning the sweepstakes. One in umpteen millions. Yeah, whether you happen to get to be that one. What?
So Sai Baba died in 1918, and he was the head of the spiritual hierarchy, the Kutu. Do you think Baba took over at that point as the head?
Well, Baba just told us that when they bring, they're the ones that bring down the Avatar himself.
Right.
then they turn over to him their charge. Once he's ready to administer his avataric work, the charge goes to him, and he collects the charge from all the 5 masters. Exactly what day or time, what year, that doesn't, they don't say that, but whenever the time for him that he can begin his work, you can bet he's got the charge at that time. He needs to be equipped to do such a work. And it isn't just, we think in terms of our planet, we live here, this is where we are, but he thinks in terms of the whole universe. But Baba wouldn't talk about other planets, other worlds, other dimensions. I mean, he touched on these things. It's not to say he didn't say anything, but actually, it wouldn't mean much to a person who has to live their life every day right here. So Baba spoke more about that part. But there were 2 things that you'll find biblically and in Baba's writings and all. There were 2 main things. How to behave is one thing, but to see the unseen is the real thing. To see the unseen, this is where your consciousness has to go, and that's why it didn't matter if you were a devil or a saint or just an everyday person. It was to Baba irrelevant, because these were just impressions of each person's mind, and he had to wipe out all these impressions. So whatever they were good or bad or indifferent, he had to wipe it all out if you're going to get to see the real thing. And that's what he came for. He didn't come, to just give us, satisfy our mundane wants, one may say. He came for a much bigger thing. Next. Is there a next?
You answered everybody's questions.
Now, does Babbitt have something to add?
Hell no.
All right.
Oh, that's right, I forgot.
Okay. I picked out one more poem so I can read
Good.
that.
Very good.
I hope you like them, because they,
Yeah, they're great.
they tell something. Here, let me see where I put this
That
one.
saves me from Dorothy, too.
95. If you were to ask me to recite one of my poems, even one, I can't remember them. I can read them, but I can't just recite them like that, which is too bad. It would be better if I could, but that's how it is.
Now, do you have copies of your poem book?
Well, the book itself is, copies.
Oh, good. So we can buy copies of your poem book?
Yeah, they're available. They're available.
Aren't they
Definitely.
online too?
Yeah, if you actually wanted to buy the book, I would sign it for you. Otherwise, you can get downloaded from the.
Oh, I see. Okay.
From the thing. This really, see, all of my poems, these are things that really happened. Okay, so this one is called The Game. 3 men sat down to play a game of checkers. Now this I'm saying, this happened. 2 men began to play. They moved their pieces. The 3rd man watched. Now, one side was winning. Suddenly the hand from nowhere also moved. A winning king was taken away. Now the winner was bewildered what to do. The loser now had the advantage. He began to win. The game was unstoppable. Suddenly the hand from nowhere gave back the king. Now the loser had the advantage. The game went on. No one broke their stride. No one could tell what the hand of destiny would do. We were playing the game, all 3. Suddenly the loser received 2 kings, but the winner got 3 more kings. All strategies became unglued. New methods had to be tried. Minds had to be sharpened. Wasn't there something familiar about this game? Isn't this the game I have been playing with you all my life? Just when I thought things were going one way, something you would do would be added or subtracted, never knowing next what would happen. Still, I would pick up and go on as if nothing happened. Always you were watching and moving the pieces around, to my delight and dismay. When the game is over, we will embrace and laugh over what we did. Sit down and have a cup of tea or a beer. Even God needs friends to enjoy his life with.
Thank you.
Jai Baba.